The sun was a hard coin burning down on the high grass and the split-rail fence. The rancher rode slow, boots heavy in the stirrups, eyes scanning for strays. He'd seen the buzzards first, circling low, then the scrap of blue cloth snagged on a mesquite. He dismounted, boots crunching dry earth, and found her there, half hidden in the brush, knees drawn up, hair matted with dust and sweat. She didn't look at him at first, just a shape, breathing shallow, hands curled tight around nothing. He crouched, careful, hat in hand. "Ma'am?" His voice was low, steady as the land. No answer. He saw the marks, old and new, but he didn't stare. He set his canteen down, unscrewed the cap, and waited. Her lips moved, barely a whisper. "Please, just water." The words cracked, brittle as winter grass. He poured slow, letting the tin cup fill. Held it out, arm steady. She reached, fingers trembling so bad he had to guide the cup to her mouth. She drank, coughed, drank again. He watched her hands shake, saw the way her eyes darted to the horizon, always measuring distance. "Name's not important," she said, voice rough. "Ain't got one that matters now." He nodded. "You're safe here, for now." He didn't ask more, didn't press, just offered the rest of the canteen and waited while she drank. He wrapped her in his coat, lifted her gentle as he could. She flinched but didn't fight. The horse snorted, uneasy, but stood for the weight. He rode slow, one arm steadying her, the other on the reins. The cabin was a mile off, smoke curling from the chimney, a promise of warmth. Inside, he set her on the cot by the hearth. The place was spare, table, 2 chairs, a battered stove, a harmonica on the sill. He stoked the fire, set water to boil, broke bread and laid it on a plate. She watched, silent, eyes never leaving the door. He offered her coffee, black and strong. She shook, her head. "Just water." He poured another cup, set it on the table. She sipped, hands still trembling. He played a note on the harmonica, soft and low. Not a song, just a sound to fill the silence. She closed her eyes just for a moment and let the sound settle. Night came fast. He moved the cot closer to the fire, left a blanket folded at the foot. "You'll be warm here," he said. She nodded, eyes heavy, but didn't sleep. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the shutters. He sat by the door, rifle across his knees, listening to the dark. If you've ever watched the night for someone else, you know the weight of it. Tomorrow, the questions would come, but tonight, there was only the sound of her breathing and the promise of another dawn. But dawn brings more than light. Sometimes it brings shadows too. The days stretched thin, each one edged with waiting. The woman slept little, waking at every creak, every gust of wind. The rancher kept to his chores, but his eyes were always on the ridgeline, the road, the horizon. Tracks showed up by the creek, fresh, not his, boot prints, deep and careless. He found a scrap of cloth nailed to the fence post, red as a warning. No words, just a sign. He burned it in the stove, watched the smoke curl up and out. She watched him from the window, arms wrapped tight around herself. "They're looking," she said, voice flat. "They always look." He nodded. "Let 'em look. They won't find you here easy." She flinched at a distant shout, just a rider passing, but her breath caught. He moved slow, set a mug of water on the table, sat across from her. "You ever play?" He slid the harmonica across the wood. She shook her head. "Don't know how." He played a few notes, simple and low. She watched his hands, the way his fingers moved. After a while, she reached out, touched the cool metal, then set it back down. "Ites," he bolted the door, checked the rifle, moved the cot closer to the hearth. She watched the fire, eyes wide and unblinking. He left flowers on the sill, wild things, yellow and stubborn. Nights he bolted the door, checked the rifle, moved the cot closer to the hearth. She watched the fire, eyes wide and unblinking. He left flowers on the sill, wild things, yellow and stubborn. She didn't say thank you, but she moved them closer to her bed. One morning he found a stone on the porch marked with a crude cross. He pocketed it, said nothing. The law was a day's ride off and slow to come. He sent a letter anyway, but didn't expect much. They spoke little, but trust grew in the quiet. She started to eat more, hands steadier now. He caught her humming once, a tune he'd played. She stopped when she saw him, but he just nodded. The watchers stayed at a distance, shadows on the ridge, a flicker of movement at dusk. The rancher kept the lantern burning late, rifle close. She slept with her boots on, just in case. "If they come," she said one night, voice barely above the crackle of the fire, "don't let them take me." He looked at her, steady. "They won't." Outside, the wind carried a coyote's cry. Inside, the two of them waited, breath held, for whatever would come next. If you've ever felt eyes on you in the dark, you know how long a night can stretch. But every watcher waits for a sign, and sometimes the sign comes at dusk. Dusk bled into the cabin, painting the walls gold and grey. The woman sat by the hearth, hands wrapped around a mug. The rancher stood at the window, watching the ridge. He saw the flicker, firelight, too close, heard the distant clatter of hooves. He moved quiet, set the rifle by the door. "Stay low," he said. She nodded, eyes wide but steady. A boot scraped the porch. A shadow blocked the last of the light. The door rattled, once, twice. "Open up," came a voice, rough and thin as wire. The rancher didn't move. "Ain't nothing here for you." A pause. Then the door shuddered, hard. The woman stood, back said to the wall, breath shallow. She looked at the shotgun propped by the hearth, then at him. He nodded, just once. The door burst open, splinters flying. A shape filled the frame, gun raised. The rancher fired, the sound deafening in the small room. The shape staggered, fell back. Another shadow lunged in, wild-eyed. The woman grabbed the shotgun, hands shaking but sure. She fired once, twice. The second man dropped, crawling for the door. Silence. Smoke hung in the air, sharp and bitter. The rancher moved to the doorway, rifle ready. The woman stood behind him, breath coming fast. Outside, the rest scattered, shouts fading into the dusk. Hoofbeats thundered away, leaving only the wind and the settling dust. The rancher closed the door, bolted it tight. The woman set the shotgun down, hands trembling. He poured her water, watched her drink. They sat in the quiet, the fire crackling low. He reached out, set his hand over hers. She didn't pull away. If you've ever stood your ground with nothing but grit and hope, you know the taste of that silence. But the quiet after a storm is never empty. It waits for what comes next. Morning came soft, gold through the window. The woman sat at the table, hair brushed, hands steady. The rancher brewed coffee, set 2 mugs down. They drank in silence, the world outside hushed and clean. He moved the bed back near the window, let the breeze in. She placed the wildflowers on the sill, yellow against the glass. The town sent word. Trouble gone, law on its way. No one came up the road. She spoke more now, voice stronger. Told him about the river, the place she'd come from, the things she'd lost. He listened, never interrupting. Sometimes he played the harmonica, soft and slow, filling the cabin with something like hope. They worked side by side, mending fence, tending the garden, patching the roof. She lay, ucked once, at a joke he told. He smiled, rare and real. The scars faded, but didn't vanish. Some things stay, like the wind in the grass or the creak of the porch at night. But the fear eased, replaced by something quieter, trust maybe, or just the comfort of another soul close by. He left the door unbolted now. She slept with her boots off, a blanket tucked around her shoulders. The nights were still long, but not so cold. If you've ever found peace after a storm, you know how precious the quiet can be. So here's the question, friend. When the world turns hard and you find someone lost on the trail, what will you do? Will you offer water, a place by the fire, a hand to steady theirs? If this hit you, you know what to do.